Good afternoon, dear colleagues, distinguished guests. Warm welcome to our high-level event, high-level panel discussion today on strengthening the climate resilience, building climate resilience and adaptations, lessons from Ukraine and international partnerships. Our today's discussion is going to be a high-level discussion. We are going to have you're welcome. We are happy to see you here. All our guests, all our panelists are going to be here today with us at our pavilion. Yeah, and also one of our guests is going to be later today joining our panel discussion. So hopefully we will discuss a lot by the time our panelist comes here. So today's event is organized by the Ministry of Economy, Environment and Agriculture, jointly with the Ukrainian Climate Office, which is being implemented by GIZ on behalf of German government as part of IKI Interface project and co-financed by European Union. My name is Rімма Куштим, and I am Program Component Manager at the IKI Interface project. And I have the honor to moderate today's panel discussion on adaptation and building resilience in Ukraine and support from international cooperation partners that we are having in order to achieve our climate adaptation goals. For us in Ukraine, adaptation and building resilience has become an everyday deal. So we're adapting to constant shelling and living under constant shelling, and we are building resilience every day to withhold in the ongoing invasion. And together with all other countries in the global community, we are facing also another threat, the threat of climate change and its devastating impacts on the environment, on the economy. And together with Ukraine, all global community is fighting this fight to build the resilience in order to be able to adapt well and to sustain in the world where the climate is changing constantly. So today we are going to discuss how Ukraine is building its resilience and building its capacity to adapt not only to war, but also to the threats of the climate change, and what lessons from Ukraine can be used for the global community and can be spread throughout the world in order for other countries to learn from us and learn on other experiences. So it's my honor to introduce our today's panelists. And first of all, before coming to our panel discussion, I would like to give the floor for the welcoming remarks to our distinguished panelist, Mr. Pavlo Kарташов, Deputy Minister of Economy, Environment and Agriculture of Ukraine, who is going to cover how Ukraine is preparing and building resilience towards the impacts of climate change, and what are Ukraine's steps already during the war in order to embed climate adaptation goals into our green recovery agenda. So the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pavlo Kарташов, and I'm Deputy Minister for Economy, Environment and Agriculture. So first of all, let me greet all of you. And it's my privilege to be part of this important discussion on climate change, climate resilience, recovery, and adaptation. Issues that are not only global in nature, but deeply personal and urgent for us in Ukraine nowadays. Let me begin, first of all, by expressing our deep gratitude to the Federal Republic of Germany. And without your solidarity and support, we wouldn't be here today, because you have supported our pavilion and you are supporting many, many things we're doing in London. Also, I would like to give a thank to Eva Krahт, especially for implementing GIZ projects in Ukraine, namely its PAPs. Thanks for all the project team, as well as team of the Ukrainian Climate Office, which are also undertaking a lot of different measures in climate agenda. And we just launching new streams, new initiatives together with these project teams. And obviously, they are big supporters of everything the ministry is doing. So we are thanks for this collaboration, and I believe it's very fruitful and very sustainable. Also, I would like to thank you for Climate Resilience Program and all the partners who are doing a lot of different things supporting us in climate agenda and climate adaptation. So in 2024, we submitted our first adaptation communication to UNCCC. The current strategy on environment security and adaptation to climate change to 2030 sets priorities, and next year we will prepare updated national adaptation strategy as required by our climate law and aligned with our renewed NDC strategy. In our case, war, climate risk, and recovery are inseparable. That's why our draft NDC to 2035 emphasizes strengthening resilience and reducing the vulnerability for people, ecosystem, infrastructure, and the economy alongside emission cuts. These aims might be embedded across sectors into spatial planning, updated building codes, and the rules that govern the reconstruction of critical infrastructure, first of all. We're now embedding systematically adaptation into strategic documents on the unified whole of the government framework, and this is unified approach. Under the climate law, national adaptation strategy must assess risks, set clear priorities and measures, and define financing and monitoring arrangements. It's prepared for a 10-year horizon and reviewed every 5 years. Once we have our strategy adopted, we will develop the next steps. So first of all, sectoral adaptation programs for all key ministries and sectors based on risk and vulnerability assessment. This will include also targets, financing plans for monitoring frameworks, and will be approved by the Cabinet of Ministers. And secondly, it's regional and local strategies, also on a 5-year review cycle. All these strategies and plans must be in place within 2 years of the law entering into force. So namely, this is by the end of 2026. To support communities, we issued methodological guidance on integrating climate consideration into state planning documents and into strategic environmental assessment processes. It provides a framework to assess climate risks, their impacts on the environment and public health, and to design measures that build territorial and sectoral resilience. We are championing a nature-based solution at cost-effective tools for risk reduction, from ecosystem restoration to greener cities. We are making adaptation inclusive by addressing the needs of vulnerable groups assessed by the war, including veterans, persons with disabilities, and internally displaced persons, and backing local strategies and inter-regional cooperation. Our call to partner is clear. First of all, help us accelerate an update of the national adaptation strategy and embed it across sectors and communities by filling existing gaps in expertise and knowledge. Regarding indicators and function monitoring, evaluation, learning system. Invest in nature-based solutions and local pilots that can scale quickly and deliver multiple core benefits. And also advance cross-border cooperation to reduce risk of and impact of floods, droughts, and wildfires that don't respect borders. Ukraine is grateful for the support already provided and offers a partnership built on transparency, measurability, and shared responsibility. Our aim is very clear and simple. Every investment in adaptation should reduce losses, improve security, and create the conditions for development. Again, thank you very much for all our partners, all supporters of Ukraine, and to every city and community implementing solutions on the ground. Resilience is not abstract. It's a hospital that stays open during the heat wave or blackout. It's a bridge that withstands a flood, a farmer with the water and harvest, and a school that is safe for children. That is adaptation pathway to a safe and sustainable future for Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kartashov. Thank you for your inspiring words, and thank you for guiding us through the particular actions that Ukraine is already taking in order to ensure our resilient future. And of course, it's my honor now to present our distinguished panelists. Today, we are going to have the rich discussion together with leaders and experts in the adaptation topic. And today we have Eva Krahft, who is going to join us a little bit later today because she's coming from another event. She's Deputy Minister of, she's Director General for International and European Policy at the German Federal Ministry of Environment, Nature Conservation, Nuclear Safety and Climate Action. We have Ambassador Anthony Agata, EU Special Envoy for Climate and Environment for European External Action Service. We have Dr. Svetlana Krakowska, Head of Applied Meteorology and Climatology Laboratory at the Ukrainian Hydrometeorological Center Institute, and Ingrid Timboy, Senior Policy Lead and Deputy Executive Director of the Alliance for Global Water Adaptation. Welcome our dear panelists, and first, like dear Ambassador, yeah, I would like to ask you regarding the support EU is providing to Ukraine. You have planned a lot of massive support for Ukraine for its reconstruction and building back better, building back greener. And how would you see how this support can ensure that adaptation goals are embedded into the climate policies and reconstruction policies?
Okay, first, thank you very much. And first of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be next to the Deputy Minister, but also Svetlana Krakowska. We met already in Montreal, where you had an excellent speech. I think you're one of the best ambassadors of your country, and for climate and environment. Well, what I think is super interesting is that if there's any country that you could exempt or understand that they would feel, listen, let's wait with adaptation because we've got something else to do, we need to survive. And yet it is Ukraine that is leading the way because, as the Deputy Minister just said, you are integrating resilience by design instead of design by disaster. And I think that is inspiring. It is something in the EU we're learning to do as well. And you're showing the way. You're showing the way in your energy transition, and that is very important. And it's also important because the EU is, or the European continent is about to warm up 2.5 times more than others. There are a lot of consequences of that. We heard about the adaptation strategy in Ukraine. In the EU, we mapped out all our climate risks that we have. In the last 3 years, we've lost 50 billion, so 50 billion euro, simply to climate disasters. So whenever somebody says, well, listen, it's costing a lot of money to adapt or to mitigate or to transition, those are investments. Not acting is entailing costs, and the costs of non-action will become insurmountable every day, every month, every year that we wait to doing this. So in our adaptation strategies that we base upon this risk, we're trying to push forward. We're also learning. But I wanted to mention one thing that I'm interested to ask the option about this. We just recently brought out our climate and energy vision, and I'm very proud because we got in a little defense because it action or adaptation policy is for the economy, and defense is to protect your borders. If you look at it that way, that's very old-fashioned. These things are all interlinked. And when it comes to, for instance, defense, if you want to have a defense infrastructure or a credible deterrent, it has to be modern. It's not the old war. And I think Ukraine, unfortunately, you are leading the way because you see how quickly you need these innovation cycles. You're not building a plane for the next 40 years. You're building things for the next 2 months or the next day. And I think as we move forward in our defense investments, and we're going to do a lot in the EU, where I know our businesses are working together with yours to make sure that these innovation cycles are shorter and that we are into clean tech and into digital and into modern things, so that first of all, we have a deterrent defense. And second of all, when we come out of the hot phase, and I hope sooner rather than later, we are also going to be competitive in this world today, and we're going to have a clean transition, and we're going to mitigate. And as I said, we're going to design our resilience rather than design by disaster.
Thank you so much. And thank you for stressing this importance of the actions and importance of combining the action towards resilience and adapting to those conditions that are currently Ukraine is facing. And unfortunately, yes, Ukraine is a front runner of this building resilience in the war conditions. But we hope that our experience can be used not only in Ukraine, and of course we are hoping for sustainable peace in Ukraine, but we also are hoping for sustainable and resilient future in terms of climate change adaptation. And coming from your words, I think you have pointed out a lot of important messages in your speech. I would like to pass the floor to Ms. Svetlana Krakowska. You're on the side of the science, and you have seen how science is being put into policy. And in terms of adaptation and climate resilience, what would you see are the biggest risks for Ukraine, and what risks that Ukraine is currently facing that will become more and more of importance for Ukraine in the future?
Well, thank you, and even more thanks for you for your very kind word. Actually, I didn't expect it, but yeah, I do my best in any place where I am, and try to actually advocate for my country and for climate, of course, because my country is the same as others on the same planet, so we need to survive together. And as I said, we are all in one boat. Anyway, if come to adaptation, which is a topic, very hot topic at this conference, but unfortunately not very yet not with very good progress. But actually, it just show how important it is and how actually needed it for every country. So just to mention this at the beginning, let's say. Coming to Ukraine, coming to science, from my scientific perspective, of course, I came from physical science, let's say. I work with physical system, climate system, and for me it's pretty clear that these physical laws, you cannot negotiate them. So if you put in atmosphere additional greenhouse gases, it will warm. So anyway, so for me, it's really very difficult to understand those negotiations when people try to undermine this actually credibility of science. And I see it right now, right here, and I really worry about this, because if we will not build our future actions on science, I don't know where we will go, in fact. And we definitely will lose time and sources and finance and everything, in fact, and lives, which is much more crucial. That's why actually at the beginning of this full-scale session, I try to put this connection between Russian aggression and climate change, that we should continue our action. And I'm really very happy that this message of fossil fuel war, which is now obvious for everyone, that we need to stop our dependence on fossil fuel and be more independent and more secure, in fact, in every country. So now it's very viral. Coming from this physical science, I just wanted to be it more applicable, let's say. So that's why my laboratory title is Laboratory of Applied Climatology. We want to make this science actionable. And that's why I was involved in this first project where we, this pilot oblast in Ukraine, we made the adaptation strategy of adaptation to climate change for 3 pilot oblasts in Ukraine. This project is Zapana 3, which started before the full-scale invasion. It was really difficult to continue it, but we insisted that we need to continue those actions. And after all, we end up with a methodology where we can actually make this climate risk and vulnerability assessment on this regional level, which is really unique because we didn't find such methodology on any other levels in Europe as well. So we found this methodology for cities, for example, but or for sectors, but not for such big region like Oblast, which actually include many sectors. So it was really unique methodology we developed during this project, and we tested it on 3 different oblasts, Ivano-Frankivska, Lvivska, and Mykolaiivska. We had 17 sectors, 12 main sectors and other additional, like tourism, for example. We had 3 kinds of tourism. We had, of course, infrastructure there, critical infrastructure like energy, so biodiversity, terrestrial and freshwater ecosystem, for example. So it's really, and agriculture. Of course, agriculture is the first sector, which is one of leading sector. And maybe just due to this, we have now new super ministry of economy, actually environment and agriculture. When there was the Ministry of Agriculture, we made another project which is under actually support of EU for climate resilience, financed by European Union and German Ministry of Environment, Climate Actions and Nuclear Safety. So this project was on climate risk and vulnerability assessment for agriculture. So we made it for crop farming and for animal husbandry. So it was particularly for whole country, we made this estimation where we will have this risk. And in fact, well, I mean, qualitatively we knew that this risk will be in the persistent part, but we made it actually quantitative. So we can really compare different parts of Ukraine and know where it's better to continue agriculture and where it's better to actually develop animal husbandry. We hope to continue it with to horticulture, with other species. In fact, what I should say is about it's again methodology we developed, which is based on a new IPCC report, a new 6 assessment report, which involve climatic impact drivers, 32 of them of 5 categories. So it's not only temperature, precipitation, so it's involve wind and it coastal and it involve snow as well. And it's 32 in fact, so it's really many which we can assess mean parameters, let's say, and extreme parameters. So it's really comprehensive and it is transferable. So what is really good is that we can apply it for different sectors and different places. So it's not only transferable, it's actually scalable. So we can upscale it to the national level and to actually build this national adaptation plan on it. Or we can downscale it down to villages, in fact, down to local communities where they can take those data and build their local adaptation strategies. At this moment, very recently, we actually made available all data we produced in this project. So already those pilot regions like Lvivska, Ivano-Frankivska, and Mykolaiivska Oblast, they can take those data and try to use. But I would actually advise to come to us and ask us to explain more, because it's really not very easy. And maybe just to finalize with what is going on here in Belém, again, so I'm now part of this negotiation process on this global goal of adaptation. It's very difficult. It's very difficult because many countries, they have different vision of it. They have different aims, different, purpose, what they want to do here. Some want money, some want to go. Well, but anyway, again, we are in the same boat. So anyway, we need to roll to much more safer way. And at the same time, Ukraine needs to fight those big guys, which actually beat our country, and we need to fight against him. So I'm really very thankful to all who support Ukraine. And I really hope for future to be helpful with all our, the scientific our achievements, so we can really transfer our, this knowledge and be part of the global process. Thank you.
Thank you, Svetlana. Thank you for covering on the science side. And of course, it's clear here that sometimes negotiations are political. They're always political. And science, it's clear. It's clear, it's there. And it's nice to be side by side with you, with our scientists who are supporting Ukraine, not only in international level, but also at the national and regional level and even local level. So we appreciate your ongoing support to all of the stakeholders of Ukrainian climate policy. And it's the cornerstone of our climate policy that we have science on our side and we have science inside of Ukraine, which is supporting and driving the changes towards climate resilience. So thank you so much. And as you said, you're trying to be practical. You're not trying only to be on the science side, on the research side, but trying to make all of the solutions practical. And coming first to our next panelist, Ingrid Timbo, I would like to ask you, you're working mainly in water sector, but it's one of the most vulnerable sectors for Ukraine in particular. And I would like to ask you, of course, you're welcome to share all of your messages that you would like to share during this event, but I would like to ask you in particular, what are the tools and instruments Ukraine can still scale up in order to achieve climate resilience in water sectors and maybe in other sectors?
Sure. Thank you so much. Well, first of all, obviously, thank you to the government of Ukraine for having me here today. As mentioned, my name is Ingrid, and I'm the Deputy Executive Director at an organization called the Alliance for Global Water Adaptation, or AGWA. And since this is my first time in the pavilion and maybe meeting all of you, I can give you just a quick overview of the type of work that we do. So we are a global NGO that works at the intersection of water and climate change, specifically on adaptation, but we also do some work on mitigation as well. And we crowdsource tools and approaches, both kind of on the technical side of things to support water decision makers. But we also do a lot of policy support. So I'm going to talk a little bit about both. I'll give two examples of the type of work that we have done to support countries that are looking to make more climate resilient water management decisions. But first, to just start with maybe one definition, because I know we use the terms adaptation and resilience all a little bit differently. At AGWA, we define resilience as the ability to cope with, adapt to, and shape change. And obviously during conflict, that can be very difficult as the focus is rightly on basic survival. However, we have found that for protracted conflicts, when there are longer active and inactive periods, there's a lot of planning that can be done to help improve the ability of communities, of infrastructure, of support systems, should there be a loss of services, infrastructure, or livelihoods. However, when entering the post-conflict period, and we hope that that is something that obviously is coming very soon for Ukraine, there is a massive opportunity, and there's going to be so much that is invested in Ukraine over the coming years. And this is such a big opportunity to really rethink for the country how to move into the next phase of its development to make sure that it's climate resilient. And so I just want to give maybe one example here from Ukraine, maybe to talk about the famous, or the infamous rather, destruction of the Kakhovka Dam and the subsequent flooding that happened in 2023. So Ukraine now has a choice to make in whether or not to rebuild this very important dam, which provided a lot of services over 50 years for the country. But it's not even an easy yes or no answer for the country, because even if the decision was no, there is still the question of what is to be built or protected in place of the dam as an alternative. And even if the decision is yes, we do need to rebuild that dam, there's not one kind of dam, and the decisions to depend on the benefits that are most important to local residents and communities. And these include things like, obviously, access to drinking water, water for agriculture, intact habitat and biodiversity. And it's actually really interesting to see what has happened over the last 2 years upstream of where the dam was in terms of the ecosystem regeneration that has happened. But there's also energy production and the safe operation of Zaporizhzhia, for example, which that region provides. So all of these things have to be accounted for and balanced. And then on top of that, we add climate change and uncertainty about the future. So on the Dnieper River, flows are changing. And so what does that mean for dam operations, not only today or in 5 years, but in 30 years, in 50 years? The dam that was destroyed was built 70 years ago, almost. So that's how long this infrastructure lasts. So we can't just be thinking about the next 5 years. We have to be thinking well into the future as well. So these are the types of things that my organization supports countries to think about. And there's 2 programs that I'd like to mention. First, there's a decision support tool that we have been working on with UNESCO called CRIDA, the Climate Risk Informed Decision Analysis. Recently in Zambia, there was another piece of infrastructure, it's actually a water treatment facility that was also had some water and energy challenges. And they utilized this tool to do a kind of a cost benefit analysis, analyze different options, and make a decision going forward that made the most sense for them. And so using a lot of the climate models, like the ones that were just mentioned previously, those can be input into this. And so we support countries in doing that as well. And then the last one I mention is a program called the Water Resilience Tracker. This is where we are working with governments to look at across their national climate and adaptation planning. So this is not just limited to the water sector, but looking at energy, looking at agriculture, looking at the tough trade-offs that each country has to make, and helping them make better water resilient decisions for the future to support energy resilience, to support food systems resilience, et cetera. And then maybe just the final thing that I'll mention is the importance of building external partnerships, as was mentioned by the Deputy Minister, as was mentioned by Tony. The partnership that already exists between Ukraine and GIZ. GIZ is actually our partner as well on a number of things, including the Water Resilience Tracker, which I mentioned. These partnerships are also really important, and they can help support a lot of the restructuring efforts as well. So I think I will end it there because our next panelist has arrived.
Thank you so much, Ingrid, and thank you for bringing up this case of Kakhovka Dam. You can hear us. Yeah, can you hear us? Perfect. Yeah, as this is one of the good examples of how planning for adaptation and planning of climate action and planning of whatever policy can go different ways. And it was so unexpected. Where we expected to have a desert, we now have a forest after the destruction of Kakhovka Dam. So there could be different scenarios, and of course, planning of them is important. But adaptation and resilience about building the capacity to adapt to any conditions or any scenarios that something goes wrong, could go wrong. And yeah, it's my pleasure to have joining our panel Dr. Eva Krahт, Director General for International and European Policy at the German Ministry of the Environment Conservation, Nuclear Safety and Climate Action. It's easier in German. In German, we have BMUKN. Yeah, and it's my pleasure to present you here, and it's an honor to have you here at our panel. And I would like to pass the floor to you, and my question to you would be, as Germany is one of the strongest partner of Ukraine, you have unfortunately missed the speeches of our other panelists, but of course our other panelists, including Mr. Kарташов, has pointed out how Germany is supporting Ukraine through its work and through its struggle with ongoing aggression and ongoing war, and is supporting Ukraine in its climate goals, including the adaptation climate goal. So what lessons and have you from German side, and how Germany is supporting Ukraine in order to bring climate goals, including adaptation goal, into practical projects?
Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry for being late. That is due to the fact that Jochen Flassbart has been asked by the presidency to facilitate on adaptation, which means that all the schedules have been messed up. Really sorry, but it was important to me to join you here nonetheless, even if I had to run from the previous side event. It's glad to hear some familiar faces. It's wonderful. Germany is indeed honored to join Ukraine and our international partners here today to discuss how we can strengthen climate resilience and develop adaptation pathways for a sustainable and secure future. Let me begin by commending Ukraine for its absolutely remarkable determination to pursue environmental and climate goals despite the ongoing war of aggression waged by Russia. I had the honor to participate in a meeting in Kiev in April of this year. And I could really experience very closely the determination of the different actors, governmental and non-governmental, to deal with environmental issues and climate issues in spite of these circumstances, or maybe even taking the opportunities in some areas that these offer. Same, our minister met in Berlin with Minister Sobolev last week, and they also exchanged on our close cooperation. This commitment to protect people and nature, even under such devastating circumstances, commands our deepest respect. It also shows that climate resilience is not a luxury for peaceful times, but a necessity for survival, for recovery, and for long-term peace. Germany stands in unwavering solidarity with Ukraine. We will continue to support your country in defending its independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity, and equally in building the foundations for a green and resilient recovery. For us, supporting Ukraine's resilience is not only an act of solidarity, it's shared investment in a climate resilient, sustainable, and democratic future for Europe, and also environmental damage. Industrial sites have been destroyed. Polluted soil, air, and groundwater threaten public health and livelihoods. These damages again threaten livelihoods and long-term recovery. So addressing them is not just an environmental task, it is a security imperative. Healthy ecosystems, reliable water supply, clean energy, and resilient infrastructure reduce vulnerability, support stability, and prevent new crises. They are also very important factors for foreign direct investors, which aim to serve EU markets, as these require certain environmental standards to be met. And ultimately, Ukraine's path for EU accession will require extensive reforms in the environment and climate sectors, as I know our Ukrainian partners are very much aware of. This interconnection makes one thing clear: adaptation and resilience are not only environmental issues, they are central to security, stability, and peace. The war in Ukraine has made this tragically evident. That is why environmental and climate policies must be placed at the heart of Ukraine's recovery. The German Environment Ministry has been a long-standing partner of Ukraine, supporting reforms and capacity building in the field of environment, climate, and biodiversity. Through our International Climate Initiative, IKI, we are currently supporting 14 bilateral projects with a total volume of around 143 million euros. A particularly important initiative under the IKI is the Green Recovery Platform, which was launched jointly by Ukraine and Germany at the Ukraine Recovery Conference last year in Berlin and is now fully operational. The platform aims to anchor environmental and climate objectives across all sectors of reconstruction in a true whole of government approach, bringing together the different relevant ministries. Germany, together with Finland, Italy, and the Czech Republic, has made financial contributions to the multi-donor fund supporting this platform. Like I already mentioned, because that was why I actually went to Kiev in April, this year in April, the first stakeholder forum in Kiev brought together more than 700 participants from government, local authorities, and the private sectors, as well as NGOs. The discussions made one thing very clear. Ukraine's green recovery enjoys broad support, both domestically and internationally. The platform is now working on analyzing pilot environmental investment projects from Ukraine's national investment pipeline to identify barriers to financing and to develop green criteria for future infrastructure investments. Thereby, we also wish to pave the way for investments that are both climate resilient and EU compliant. There are several projects beyond this launched by the Federal Ministry for the Environment under our International Climate Initiative that embody our shared commitment to a resilient and sustainable Ukraine. In the field of climate adaptation, Germany is supporting Ukraine in strengthening resilience to climate impacts in the Black Sea region. In the area of municipal resilience and environmental infrastructure, we contribute to the Eastern European Energy Efficiency and Environment Partnership, called E5P, enabling municipal energy efficiency and environmental infrastructure investments. Similarly, we initiated an emergency response window under E5P to restore vital environmental infrastructure, such as waste management and drinking water systems. In the energy sector, we have been supporting the improvement of district heating regulations at the municipal level and the Renewables for Resilient Ukraine initiative to promote renewable energy solutions for critical infrastructure. Across the board, we have supported renewables as well as energy efficiency projects. So illustrate how our ministry's engagement under the IKI connects immediate recovery needs with the long-term resilience goals, linking environmental protection, energy security, and social to one for Ukraine. And we could see how important these current decision, of with three key first, resilience and adapt are about people. For